I found this tale in the Bess Lomax Hawes collection, which is at CSUN in Special Collections. Bess was an anthropology professor at the San Fernando Valley State College, which is now CSUN. Her classes covered folklore, folk music, and ethnomusicology, and later she became the head of anthropology, the anthropology department. The collection consists of folklore data collected between 1958 and 1977 by her students, and some of these stories are local, some are like national, but I was looking for local tales. The San Fernando Valley has many local tales that involve the mission and the Camarillo State Mental Institution, but they're merely settings for already established campfire stories of like the guy with the hook in the hand and the guy's swinging above the car and the girlfriend's screaming.
I'm very scared. Please stop.
I need to run away. But there is one story that popped up a couple times I was very curious about. There's not a lot out there. It was a story that circulated around Canoga Park. Transcriptions come from 1962 and maybe a little earlier than that. Does anybody know about something called Mother's Grave? Really?
Ooh.
I'm going to talk to you. I'm talking to you later. The transcripts talked about a Lover's Lane area up in the Mulholland Highway, and what I read came with directions. You take Canoga Avenue to the very top of Woodland Hills, and then where it meets Mulholland Drive. There, you see a dirt road, and you follow it until you get to a driveway with a gate. That's trespassing. Then you follow the driveway up to a steep hill until you come to another gate. 2 trespassing counts. Then there's a farmhouse on the left, and brushes and trees that surround the area to the right, I believe. Once up there, you will come across a domed tombstone with a marking Mother's Grave. Here's some of the stories that I've heard about it. The backstory apparently is that in the 30s there was an old woman who died, leaving behind her mentally challenged son. Her son was dependent on her, so after she passed, he sat next to her grave and mourned her death until he eventually died of starvation, waiting for his mother. It's said that the son sits at the mother's grave with an axe to protect it from intruders, and since he's already dead, he can't be killed. If you're dumb enough to stumble upon it, then the son will hunt you down and cut your head off.
Did that happen to you too?
If you think this sounds a little bit like Friday the 13th, this story was taken 20 years before that movie came out, so it's a little older than that. In some stories, friends talk about being chased away by a man with a rifle. People talk about hearing weird noises. There are stories about 3 giant black dogs that protect the grave. There's another version of the story that involves dogs about there's a hunter who was famous for his dogs. Sounds like the dogs were famous and you just drove him around, but whatever. One day the owner died, and instead of embalming the man, they simply buried him on top of Mulholland Highway. So in this story, it's not Mother's grave, it's Master's grave. Oh. 4 days after they buried him, the hound dog sat by his grave and howled night and day.
Is this another Elvis story?
Yeah, out of the grave, Elvis Presley.
Here he is.
And he wants his residuals for whatever. 4 days pass after the man dies, after they bury him, and the dogs keep going back to that spot where he was buried, and they howl night and day, night and day. They're howling. Everyone in the area gets really fed up, so they think that something's wrong, so they dig up the grave, and the man's hair has grown long, and the casket they buried him has claw marks, so they buried him alive, and the dogs knew about it. If only dogs could talk. In some other stories, people are chased away by albino men with hatchets. In some stories, the dogs are albinos, and in other stories, there are albino caves where the albino people live atop Mulholland
Highway. The
Highway.
cave itself is albino, or the people in the cave?
I think the people are albino. I have to go back. I gotta go back to see something.
I'm glad you took that question seriously, though.
Some stories claim that the tombstone moves every time people go see it. It's in a different space. You and I went there after we toured here on Sunday, and we went up to Lover's Lane during the day.
It's the only way to experience it.
We didn't really see much. Today I went back up there. I was kind of driving around. There's a lot of is it buzzards when someone dies and you hear? I heard that everywhere I went, and then I ran away.
Buzzards don't buzz.
They don't.
They're called buzzards. They don't
buzz. What buzz? Okay, it's just flies then.
Yeah, they're big flies.
Those aren't buzzards?
Buzzards go caw-caw.
Buzzards are birds.
Yeah, buzzards are birds.
Then what are the big flies that when people die?
Cicadas? Are they called cicadas?
It might be June bugs,
maybe.
Watch out for June bugs.
They might have been escaped monkeys.
It might be. They've grown into adult monkeys. Yeah. That's it for Mother's Grave. I'm going to talk to you ladies after. Yeah. Thank you.